Morning. Sorry, there's definitely a lag when I hit live to when I go. How is everyone? I'm Mandy, a dietitian here at Nutrisystem, and I'm going to talk about busting through a plateau, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. But before I get started, if you can tell me where you're tuning in from. Allison, hey, you're from Las Vegas. Well, you're up early. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, let me know where you are tuning in from. It helps me know that you can all hear me okay. And it's also cool to see where everybody is tuning in from. All right, cool. Looks like we have people joining. All right, I am gonna get started. Hey, Sheila from Houston. All right, cool. So as I said, I'm Mandy. I'm a registered dietitian here at Nutrisystem, and I'm joining you today to share my top tips for busting through a weight loss plateau. And like I said, it's one of my favorite things to talk about because I don't think it's talked about enough. So one of the most important things kind of before we get started on my tips is to define what a weight loss plateau is. And so a weight loss plateau is a phrase that we use if you've been following your weight loss plan for 2 to 3 months, but the scale just hasn't budged in the last 1 to 2 weeks. So it really is important to know that these standoffs with the scale will happen throughout your weight loss journey. It is totally normal. And especially as you get closer to your goal weight, but that doesn't mean you have to stay stuck. But I think it's really important to know that this is part of the journey, and you should expect to hit a plateau. But I think what happens most of the time is we kind of start feeling frustrated. We think that maybe the diet isn't working for us anymore, and that's not true. It's just your body starting to adjust to your new lower weight. And your metabolism is kind of is going down and kind of adjusting to that weight. So it's super important to know that this is normal. And what you need to do is to just plow through it and use some of these tips that I'm going to give you today to kind of help you bust through that plateau. So my first tip is really to fine tune your tracking. I know, this happens to all of us. We get so comfortable with following the program. We become less dependent on our meal tracker. We get a little lax in following the plan and, slip up and some extra calories come in here and there. But they definitely add up. So getting back to the basics of the program, starting to record your intake again, you'll be able to kind of account for where those extra calories may be coming in from that you didn't quite realize. And again, that is totally normal too, but we have tracking as a tool, and it's important to kind of go back to those tools when we're feeling a little stuck. So if you find that your weight loss still hasn't budged after a week or two, recording your intake, and kind of getting back on track, it's a good thing to call the counseling center and share with your counselor what you've recorded, and they can kind of help walk you through that. So it's definitely important. And it's also important to know that if you're tracking and you're being honest with your tracking, if you're not 80 to 90% compliant with the diet, most likely you just need to get back on track and you're really not at a weight loss plateau. So it's important to kind of measure where you are and, be honest with yourself and record everything and kind of get back to the basics a little bit. But definitely reach out to counseling. They can help you. And don't forget to use Numi, which is our free online tracking tool that makes logging food, drinks, activity, weight, and more super simple. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to amp up your activity. So in the beginning, activity may not be a priority for you just yet, and that's totally okay. But if you're facing a plateau, movement just might be the missing piece. So try working in some of the My Daily 3 workouts. Again, My Daily 3 is if you can't get at least 30 minutes in one chunk in, you can break that down into 3 10-minute chunks. So really anything that you can do above and beyond what you're doing now is good. So, go for a long walk, take a bike ride, do some stretching, anything to really get yourself moving. And if you have been exercising, try pumping up the intensity or the duration of your favorite activities. Again, your body is starting to adjust to what you've been doing. So you need to kind of do something a little bit different to kind of kick it back into action for weight loss. So, walk or jog around the block an extra time, put some extra pep in your step and pick up your pace. And make sure to try your hand or muscles at strength training. Resistance training or lifting weights is absolutely one of the best exercises, shockingly better than cardio for weight loss. And that's because it increases your lean muscle mass and that shifts the level of fat to muscle, which is what we like to call body recomposition. And the more lean muscle you have, the more it gives a boost to your metabolism to help you burn calories at a quicker rate. So remember, the more you move, the more you burn, the more you burn, the more you lose. So definitely get active if you haven't been, to kind of break through that plateau. And don't be afraid, women especially, to lift weights, use resistance training. You're not going to bulk up. My third tip is to mix up your menu. So sometimes a little variety is really all you need to kickstart your body and your body's weight loss engine again. So try swapping your lunches and dinners. Try some brand new Power Fuel or Smart Carbs options. If in the beginning, your Power Fuel selections have been more dairy foods, try trading them for lean meats, eggs, protein shakes like our Fresh Start shakes, and which tend to offer up more protein per serving. So by increasing your protein intake, you can preserve any lean muscle mass that you have, which again can help preserve your metabolism when your body's at rest. So definitely, make sure you're getting your protein in. That can definitely help. The fourth tip I have is to ditch your dinners out. Now that's not to say you can't enjoy restaurant foods. We have our flex options for those occasions, but consistently doing it, maybe doing it more than what's recommended, is a really good way for those extra calories to sneak in. So, sure, you might have asked for low-fat cheese on the veggie wrap, but do you really know how much cheese the chef snuck in? And maybe you requested a side of grilled veggies, but were they cooked in oil and butter? So, when you go out to eat, the less you can control kind of what goes into your body. So, like I said, I know it's unrealistic to say you should never eat out or do takeout again, but while you're trying to crack the code on what may be causing your plateau, it might be beneficial to skip the restaurant or takeout scene for a bit. Again, we're all kind of still social distancing, so eating in at a restaurant isn't as practical right now, but definitely takeout is still the same thing. So again, just watch how much you're eating out. And last, but probably the most important, and one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to plateau is to increase your NEAT. And NEAT is a big component of the calories out part of the calories in, calories out equation for weight loss. So what NEAT means is it's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I know that's a mouthful, so that's why we say NEAT. And it's simply the calories that you burn by the movements we make when we go about our daily business. So it's really anything that's non-purposeful exercise. So think of standing instead of sitting, pacing while you're on a phone call, walking, across the building at your job if you're back into the office yet, fidgeting at your desk, any yard work, cleaning, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And these subtle movements that you don't really think about really, really add up. So one of my favorite studies was published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation, and it showed that subjects who were fed the same controlled diet, the same number of calories, the same foods, and they were locked in a respiratory chamber for 24 hours. And a respiratory chamber is one of the most accurate ways to measure how many calories are burned. There was a large difference in the calories burned through NEAT during that day. So it ranged from 100 calories up to even 800 calories between subjects. So the more you're moving and not really thinking about it, like me standing here talking with my hands, that's burning more calories than if I would just stand here like this. So, it's those little things that actually really add up. And the problem for a lot of people is that research has shown that upon starting a diet and losing weight, calories burned through meat tends to significantly decrease. And that's because you're at a smaller weight, which is the goal here for most of us. But your body burns less calories at a smaller weight, so your NEAT is decreasing. So some tips to increase NEAT is to stand as much as possible instead of sitting. We've heard it many times. This is one of the main reasons. Another thing to do would be to fidget, tap your toes, or pace in your office or in your home office while you're taking phone calls or on Zoom calls where you don't have to be showing your face. Think about investing in a standing desk if you do work from home. I did since we quarantined. I got it off of Amazon and I'm using it right now. It's amazing. You can take the stairs instead of the elevator like we talked about before, park further away in the parking lot, take a walk during your work breaks and schedule those in, because sometimes, if we're not scheduled in, we'll just let it go. But if you schedule things for yourself, just like you would for a work meeting, it helps us be more accountable. Another thing, if you have a dog, instead of leaving your dog out the back door to do its business, take him for a walk instead. That gets you out, that gets you moving, gets him moving, and so forth. And then, one of my favorite things to do is when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, I love to turn on music and I love to dance while I'm cooking. And that's just another way to get in extra movement. So those are my top plateau busting tips. For those of you who experience a plateau, do you think you'll try any of these? And for those of you who haven't hit a plateau, do you plan to tuck some of these away just in case? So don't forget, we're always here to help. So if you're feeling a little frustrated, don't hesitate to reach out to one of our awesome weight loss counselors on email or chat. They can help identify some of these additional tips to try. And remember, plateaus are normal. They are a normal part of your process. So you just have to work through them, reach out for help, and don't give up. That's the biggest thing. You've come so far. And when you hit a plateau, that's normal. That's your body responding to the success that you've had so far. So just keep chugging along. The diet's not failing you. You're not failing you. It is completely normal. It's just now, what do you do when you get there? And, some of these tips will definitely help. So before I jump off, I'm just going to see if we have any comments on what people are going to do. So it sounds like people are getting more activity, which is great. That's kind of what we need to do. That's super important for weight loss maintenance as well. So, and beyond just the normal health benefits. So awesome. Well, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back here next week. Have a great weekend and I will see you guys soon. Take care.